Right now at 5, it's part of a federal relief bill that got approved and was on its way until a roadblock today. The latest in the battle over the COVID-19 relief package. Also tonight, the pandemic has had huge effects on our mental health. Now an added layer as winter sets in. How one Indiana man is working with his struggles to help others in 2021.
It's so easy to shop on Amazon and to buy online through Walmart or Target, but people understand how important small business is to our economy and to our communities.
And that's what's helping local shops like this one continue to find success, something that can be hard to find during a pandemic, how they're adapting and evolving to stay open.
From the station working for you, this is WRTV News at 5, streaming now.
Good evening here at 5 and welcome in. I'm Mark Mullins. First tonight, new information regarding the federal COVID-19 relief package. Today, efforts to boost stimulus checks to struggling Americans hit a roadblock. Right now, $600 stimulus checks are slated to go out to Americans. Meantime, the fate of $2,000 checks is unknown. Andrew Dimbert breaks it all down from Washington, D.C.
Is there objection to the modification?
Object.
Objection is heard.
The measure to bump stimulus checks from $600 to $2,000 hits a major roadblock today, even after the initiative passed in the House yesterday with 2/3 majority and bipartisan support.
The bill is passed.
Tuesday, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell blocked 2 attempts from Democratic senators to bring it to a vote on the floor. However, McConnell added that the Senate will begin a process to bring 3 priorities to the table this week: the possible repeal of liability protections for social media companies, election integrity, and potentially the $2,000 stimulus checks, all Trump demands. But how the Senate will actually proceed is still unclear.
Those are the 3 important subjects the president has linked together.
If all 3 are tied together in one bill, it will likely fail without Democratic support, meaning qualifying Americans would get $600 and no more. Democrat Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer urged McConnell to act.
So Leader McConnell holds the key to unlocking this dilemma.
Struggling Americans, meanwhile, like Beth Sullivan, say the original $600 negotiated by lawmakers isn't enough.
What a way to slap people at Christmas time.
Vice President-elect Kamala Harris agrees, saying this while getting her COVID-19 vaccination.
I actually have a bill for that. Where a while back, I recommended that folks receive a $2,000 check. And so I would urge Mitch McConnell to put my bill on the floor for a vote.
Senator McConnell says he's going to bring that military spending bill, the one that President Trump vetoed, to the floor tomorrow for a vote to override the president's veto. But Senator Bernie Sanders says if that measure is not followed up by a vote for increased stimulus checks, then he is going to object to the veto override. Andrew Dimbert, ABC News in Washington.
We've been tracking the latest data from the State Department of Health on COVID-19 in Indiana. Long term, we're still riding out a major wave of the pandemic. So far, thousands of Hoosiers are having died with the virus. More than 7,700 people in all, and roughly 2,000 of them died in December alone. Our daily cases are slightly declining, but with more than 4,000 new cases reported today, the caseload is averaging higher now than in the summer months. Millions of Americans struggle with their mental health every day, and the pandemic and the winter season is heightening these struggles for everyone. WRTV's Kelsey Anderson spoke with a Rush County man who is now working with his mental illness to help himself and help others.
Drew Hahn is from Rushville, and he knows the struggles that come with mental illness all too well. He tells me after his 3rd attempt at suicide, he finally got the help he needed and is now able to talk openly and honestly about his struggles in hopes that others can do the same. Hahn tells me he attempted suicide for the first time in 2012 after battling an undiagnosed mental illness. He says after his 3rd attempt, he got the help he needed and is now able to speak to others about his experiences. He says navigating this pandemic is hard for everyone, but for those dealing with mental illness, the pandemic plus the winter months and the holiday season is a very difficult time, and he asks everyone to work together right now and show empathy. He says if someone reaches out to you about their struggles, there's no right thing to say. Just try to be there for them the best you can.
A lot of times saying nothing even, letting them have the space, just hold that space. If you're talking on the phone, let there be silence, let them cry. There have been times my mom would lay next to me in the bed and just let me cry because I knew she knew if she tried to say something, I would just You're like, Mom, you don't get it. And a lot of times they will rebuttal if you don't get it. And that will be a common thing that you hear.
For Han, he says, besides talking to his therapist and his family and friends, journaling is what has helped him get through this pandemic and now these winter months. He tells me he wrote a blog on winter depression, and I've linked that for you on this story on the WRTV News app. Now, if you are struggling with your mental health in Indianapolis, you can call this number, 317-251-7575. Again, that number, 317-251-7575, or you can text CSIS to 839-863. Working for you, Kelsey Anderson, WRTV.
Playing the right game at the right time. This week we are highlighting our favorite local businesses that WRTV featured in We're Open Indy this year. Moonshot Games had to get creative in order to reopen and bounce back during the pandemic. We first got to know the Noblesville game store in May. The space was originally set up to house dozens of gamers, acquaintances and strangers playing at tables with each other. Well, COVID-19 changed all of that. We checked back in this month. Moonshot Games owner Jason Manship says that he and his team took the challenge as an opportunity to adapt and evolve and possibly capitalized on the situation.
Board games and puzzles have been really hot this year. So we're kind of blessed to have the right product at the right time, right? Even though COVID sucks for everyone, it's something that's interesting in that people are staying home and they're spending more time around their dinner table playing games with their family. They're many times in isolation and wanting something to do that's not just watch TV, and so they're doing more puzzles.
Moonshot Games had to close its Mass Ave location until COVID activity declines, but Manship says they still hope to make that a premier event space when Gen Con is able to come to town again. Manship says his team has worked hard and used data to their advantage in order to make their shop a competitive place for shoppers when they have the option to buy online.
We work really hard to stay in line with pricing on Amazon and Walmart. A lot of times you walk into a game store like ours and the price is 2 times what you would pay on Amazon. And I mean, people like to shop local, but at some point that just doesn't make sense, right? I mean, and so for us, it's been about giving them the opportunity to shop local, to support a small business and keeping the dollars in our community while making sure we're not overcharging folks along the way.
It may not have been an easy year, but Moonshot Games is actually able to expand its customer base this year in another way, and that is with toys. The team opened up a pop-up toy store for the holidays, and on Black Friday sold enough to pay for all 3 months of rent for the space. Manship says he plans on establishing a permanent toy store near his game shop in downtown Noblesville. Moonshot Games is one of many local businesses that was able to bounce back and find foothold for success despite the global pandemic this year. We're hoping to continue to shine a light on those businesses into 2021 and beyond. Join us this week as we check in with some of our favorite spots that we featured in 2020 in our encore special, Inside the COVID Crisis, We're Open. That's at 5 p.m. New Year's Day this Friday, right here on WRTV. Hey, we have some changes on the way in your forecast, but first, let's get your evening outlook with Storm Team meteorologist Kyle Mounts. Hey, Kyle.
Yeah, good evening to you, Mark. And we noticed some of those changes rolling in today. The clouds have taken over once again. It's nice to at least see some sunshine out there earlier in our Tuesday, but right now with those gray skies, we're at 33 in Indy. We made it to 34 this afternoon. You sit at 35 in Lafayette and 36 in Bloomington. A little bit of an east to southeast breeze out there for us this evening, so that is taking wind chills into the 20s in many spots. 23 is what it feels like downtown. Feels like 26 in Columbus and 25 the wind chill in Richmond. We've got the clouds, and we may see a couple of flurries, but this band of snow shower flurry activity, a lot of it's not reaching the ground, and it's going to continue to lift north of our area. So this evening, those temperatures will hold pretty steady. Just a couple of those flurries with those feels-like numbers in the 20s. We are going to be focusing in on some rain chances, though, for your Wednesday, fairly widespread through the day. We'll talk about how much wet weather is coming our way in just a bit.
Reports have shown the possibility of antibodies being extremely useful in fighting off COVID-19. So why are so many going unused? Still ahead on WRTV, the reason thousands of doses of antibodies are still sitting untouched across the country. And during the school year, many students get a lot of nutrients from fresh foods at lunch. How virtual learning has prompted one district to adapt in order to get kids the healthy foods they still need. That's ahead when WRTV News at 5 continues.
Only at Mattress Firm.
The pandemic has created a financial mess for many Hoosier families. Many people are having a hard time paying rent or their mortgage. WRTV Chief Investigator Rafael Sanchez spoke with the chief economist at CoreLogic, a global company which tracks many things, including the health of the housing market in our country and state.
What has been the impact of this pandemic on homes and mortgages?
What we've seen is a dramatic rise in the delinquency rate on mortgages. For example, in the Indianapolis metro area, in June, the 90-day delinquency rate more than doubled from what it was 1 year earlier. So it's had an immediate impact already on the ability of homeowners to stay current on their mortgages.
And as you track that number, right, obviously that number is staggering. What is the implication? Because sometimes we think, oh, well, it's not happening to me. I live in Bloomington. I live in Kokomo. I may live in Franklin, all suburban areas in central Indiana. It's not happening to me, Doc. So what is the impact as you share that number? What should I be thinking about if I live outside of those areas?
It affects the ability of those families to contribute in terms of economic activity in the marketplace. And what we've seen is that it has had a ripple effect. And ultimately, especially if home prices should weaken in the next year or two, it could contribute to distressed sales in the marketplace.
What is your message then to homeowners?
If you're considering buying a home, this is a very good opportunity to buy because mortgage rates are at unforeseen low levels. 30-year fixed rate mortgage rates are below 3% right now. That actually helps to reduce the monthly principal and interest payment that a home buyer would be paying, even compared to what they would have paid, say, a year ago to buy the same house. It's a great opportunity for first-time home buyers to make that transition into home ownership.
I want to thank you for joining us here on WRTV. We appreciate your time.
Hey, thanks for having me today, Raphael. Anytime.
Thanks, guys, for that. The recent COVID relief bill is expected to slow down the financial pain, though some consider the measure a Band-Aid. In the fight against COVID-19, medical experts and even the president himself have promoted antibody treatments to help. Yet hundreds of thousands of doses are not getting used. Lindsay Thie said our news gathering partner Newsy can explain why tonight.
2 FDA antibody drugs with emergency approval could help keep COVID patients out of the hospital, but thousands of doses are sitting unused across the country.
It's been a bit frustrating over the course of the last month or two.
Dr. John Hammer is an infectious disease specialist in Denver, Colorado. He says one issue, many are missing that sweet spot when they can get the medicine for it to work best in the first week of illness. Treatments have to be given via an IV, and getting IV centers up to administer it is also difficult. Hammer's been waiting on that to begin his study for the Eli Lilly drug.
We have a place where we could do it that would be safe for providers and for patients, but we just can't get the staffing or haven't been able to get it up and running to date.
These antibody treatments were highly praised to help at-risk COVID patients from getting severely sick, especially after President Donald Trump received Regeneron's antibody cocktail when he was hospitalized for COVID back in October.
It was like unbelievable. I felt good immediately.
HHS numbers show of the more than 530,000 doses available, only a little more than half, some 290,000 doses, have been shipped to hospitals. Even less is getting to patients. Only 5% to 20% of doses have been used. There's also some cost confusion. Under the deals the drug makers made with the federal government, the doses are free, but depending on insurance coverage, patients may have to pay for administering the drug. The NIH and Infectious Disease Society of America have said there's not enough data to recommend either treatment. Hospital pharmacist Newsy spoke with said that uncertainty may play into some patients passing up on the treatment. Bottom line, more research and data needs to be done. So if someone is considering if they want either antibody drug, they should consult their doctor, maybe about a clinical trial.
You may or may not get the agent, but at least it will give us data as to whether these agents actually work for you and for others.
Lindsay Thies, Newsy, Denver.
Our temperatures have been doing a lot of bouncing around here lately, and today was one of those chillier days, especially when you combine it with the increasing clouds and that breeze that sent the wind chills into the 20s. Right now, the actual temperature 33 in Martinsville, Indy, and Greenfield. You're at 32 in Tipton and 36 degrees right now in Bedford and Bloomington. The clouds, they're going to remain locked in place not only for tonight, but really through the end of the week here. And as we go into 2021, those cloudy skies, though, will come with some rising temperatures. So I think we'll fall a couple of degrees here this evening, and then overnight we'll see those numbers rising through the 30s and into the 40s by tomorrow morning. Big picture on the satellite and radar shows you that a little more bark than bite here with radar, and those snow showers and flurries really about all that's making it to the ground in northern portions of the state. Bulk of this system going to be staying off to the north and west as far as the snow is concerned, but we do get into the rain here. As we take a look at 5:30 tomorrow morning, you can see wet weather moving in around Lafayette into Crawfordsville and Rockville, and then it will continue to overspread the area. We're pretty much soaked here as we get toward mid to late morning and into the lunch hour. Still going to be dealing with quite a bit of rain. It should be on the light to moderate side. Shouldn't see anything terribly heavy. It's just going to be throughout much of the afternoon and even into the evening. By 7 o'clock, we start to see the back edge of that rain moving in around Bloomington through the Rushville and Richmond areas. And as we go into tomorrow night, the colder air is going to sweep back in here. It might catch the backside of that precipitation. So around Bedford, Seymour, North Vernon, we'll have to watch out. Could have a couple of slick spots here going into early Thursday morning. But rain potential for us generally coming in about a half to an inch of rainfall with this first round of wet weather. Now, temperatures are going to be a little bit warmer tomorrow. We'll be pushing 50 for that afternoon high, but it does come with a south breeze and, of course, the rain going to give it that damp and cooler feel. We dry out temporarily here on Thursday. We also bring down that temperature to just 34 for the high. And then as we get into Friday, another round of wet weather that could start off as a little wintry mix here before we quickly transition over to another about ½ inch to inch of rainfall. That comes with a late day high of 55 on New Year's Day. As we go into the first weekend of 2021, we've got some cooler temperatures, but no Arctic blast coming our way. Looks like we'll kind of dry things out here with highs in the upper 30s and middle 40s. Mark?
All right, Kyle, thank you. Many school districts have been using virtual learning to slow down the spread of COVID-19 this school year. So that means school breakfasts, lunches, and cafeterias look different, and food service directors are working to adapt. With Indiana Grown, our Lauren Casey takes a look at how one local district has still been able to incorporate fresh local choices while making the process safe for students and staff.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
High school students at Franklin Community taking their choir rehearsal outdoors during a school year that looks anything but normal.
I look at our littler kids in the elementary schools, and it's so regimented.
Which is why Jill Overton, the director of food services for the district, is working hard to bring smiles to kids' faces.
Just to kind of throw some things out there occasionally to make it fun.
Even if it's just a special treat with their prepackaged lunch.
It's still trying to keep things as normal as we can because there's so much that's not normal.
Normally, Overton, who oversees all aspects of the Grizzly Cubs' food in their 8 school buildings, puts a strong focus on locally grown fresh foods. And here in Johnson County, connecting with their agricultural roots is an important part to the food service plan in Franklin Community Schools. In her position, she's tasked with menu planning, nutritional analysis, staffing, hiring, training, and communicating with the Department of Ed.
The last 3 school years, we pretty much exclusively purchased apples locally from the Apple Works. Salad bars were huge in our 8 schools. We did purchase locally from a farm in Morgantown. We had some artisan lettuces that we added in.
And she's still trying her best to shop local when she can.
Prairie Farms. We still contract with Prairie Farms. Prairie Farms is local.
Plus, the pandemic adds new challenges to the dining experience.
Pretty much everything we can is prepackaged to keep it safe. We want parents to know that we are doing everything we can to keep the kids safe as well.
She says sanitation is nothing new to her department, but their usual practice of customized meals and salad bars has now turned into pre-wrapped meals and more grab and go. And she's working with new guidelines that extend the free summer meal program for students through the end of the year through the USDA.
I think it's a great opportunity for those who might have still been struggling a little bit to have a little breathing space.
And that was WRTV's Lauren Casey reporting. Virtual learners can also sign up for those meals, both breakfast and lunch. That extension for free meals goes for all public schools in the state, so reach out to your child's school if you have any questions. For a look back at all of our stories with Indiana grown, head to WRTV.com/rebound. We'll be right back.
At Ashley Home Store.
Welcome back to the News at 5 here on WRTV. The IU football team is heading to Tampa for this weekend's Outback Bowl. It will be a homecoming for head coach Tom Allen and a big chunk of the Indiana roster as well. Coach Allen's first job as a head coach was at Temple Heights High School in Tampa from 1992 to 94. Allen was defensive coordinator at the University of South Florida in 2015, just before taking the IU job. 22 Indiana players are from the state of Florida, and 10 of them call the Tampa Clearwater area home. Among them, junior linebacker Micah McFadden. He was given third-team All-American honors on Monday. You can watch the Hoosiers Saturday on WRTV, the Outback Bowl. Ole Miss from the SEC is their opponent. Live coverage from Tampa's Raymond James Stadium starts at 12:30. IU is looking for its first bowl game win since New Year's Eve 1991. We're rallying. All new at 6 p.m. here on WRTV. Still waiting for shipments to be delivered. We check back in on the USPS and see if there's been any movement as people continue seeing delays. You get an emergency call saying your water will be shut off if you don't pay, but this call isn't what it seems. What to know if you get an expected call from your utility company. Next, when the news continues at 5:30 on WRTV.